So how is AI like affecting SEO? Well, content creation, video, podcasts. I don't love this idea, but you can use 11 Labs to clone your voice. Hey Jen to clone your video of you.
It's cool. It's really cool conceptually, but from like a philosophical point of view, it's really freaky.
It is very freaky. So I mean, I'm kind of old school. So I love humans writing the content. We pay for, we do like 100 articles a month. I mean, we create podcasts, we create videos, we create articles, and it's kind of sad in some ways to see some of this stuff is so exciting. I think you had said when we had talked earlier, it's exciting and terrifying, right? Because hey, my SEO could be easier, not only with creating videos or podcasts, or maybe even just for some people they would just use AI to write the script. I wouldn't do that because I don't believe that Google will rank it well if you simply go, hey ChatGPT, write this script, and then 11 Labs and Hey Jen just make the series of videos and shorts and whatever. Already AI has totally shifted the landscape with content creation and all that, but more importantly, Google has launched AI mode, right? So now Google is in a way not really a search engine. It's really ChatGPT with some links.
How is AI changing the way we approach SEO, search engine optimization? We know that is a huge asset when done right in all of your marketing. But AI is flipping the script. And that's why we have John here today. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself, why this topic matters to him, and why it should matter to you. John, welcome to the show.
Welcome, and thanks for having me.
And to hear all about you, because this is a topic that I revealed a little bit to you before. I said I'm not necessarily ahead of the game when it comes to this, so you're going to be our go-to for this conversation.
Yeah, sounds good. I got started in 1995 at my father's ad agency, and they gave me a laptop and said, go sell websites, whatever a website was in 95. So I would dial up over AOL in people's offices, literally with a phone jack. I'd have to plug into their phone jack at their office, and they'd literally hear the modem like crunching sound and get on AOL. Here's the internet. What internet? Like one guy said, you're like the modern version of a snake oil salesman. Get out of here, kid. One guy actually said the internet's not going anywhere. This is all hype. So kind of funny. And so I was selling websites in 95, and then in 96 I took an SEO class because we had an educational startup company, and my brother signed me up with Robin Nobles, I think it was. SEO class. It was online, and I kind of fell in love with SEO pretty quickly because it just seemed so new and different. And as a musician, as you can see from some guitars there, and a creative person, a writer and a musician, the internet I gravitated towards it because it was a place where kind of everything came together, creative stuff. Then I read this book that was online only. It was really one of the first ever SEO books. Mike Grahan. He interviewed the engineers at the early search engines, and this book was essentially like, almost like transcripts of them. It was really insightful. Like there was no Google right at that point yet. So it was like, what is, when you're building a search engine for AOL or Lycos or AltaVista or Dogpile, if you believe someone would call their search engine Dogpile, it's not a shock that's not around. So it was, I thought that was fascinating, like this new thing. I'm at the center of it as it, I think it was there before 95, but not really, super publicly. Accessing it with a browser wasn't really available. So then over the years, I left my father's agency, started my own agency, McDougall Interactive, and then really decided we always built websites, but we didn't want to be really seen as a web design company. Really focus on SEO. So I've seen all those changes, like Google Panda 2011, where Google got better at looking at the content online. Right. If you kind of copied other people's content or stole their content, duplicate content, the Panda penalty would, really hurt your website if you had a lot of duplicate content. And before that, people could get away with it. Like a bank might lease content for their blog, and maybe, you'd be okay back in the day, even if that was on a lot of other websites. But people really got crushed with that, with Panda. And then right back to back, 2012, Google Penguin, where bad backlinks, people that were just, buying links and overseas, cheesy backlink strategies, that was like a 2-year chaos for the SEO industry. And in my mind, that's kind of what kicked off content marketing, in the sense of like, we got to go all in on this. Not like, hey, SEO, let's put some keywords, sprinkle some fairy dust on the site. It became like, hey, we have to do inbound marketing. And then HubSpot evolved, and the rest is history, until ChatGPT. Like, all the way from those early days till a couple of years ago, we were like growing relatively steady with some big, like Panda and Penguin, and some different algorithm updates that were like shockers, but it was always kind of like just growing search engine optimization and search engines in general, and social media got added and then incorporated. But ChatGPT, when it first came out, it was like, oh wow, it like actually can write pretty good. But we've been telling people for a long time, like, as Neil Patel says, 94% of the time, like homemade content, like, or written by humans, outranks AI content. But man, things are changing fast. So some people are getting content to rank that's all AI content, but very extreme use of AI to get it to the point where Google and other search engines can't, and chatbots, ChatGPT or whatever, can't detect. It's just generic content. Well, because if you're gonna get AI content to rank, you have to manipulate it so much that it's not really just AI content anymore. But that's where there's now, I think the biggest chaos happened just last month with Google I/O conference, like kind of a developer conference, but they announced so many new things that, like, I don't know, I think that's when they announced VO3.
I haven't tried it yet.
The video, it's crazy. I said, I signed up for the $250 a month Google Gemini Ultra, and I said, make a video of a guy like Jimi Hendrix singing like blues, and I gave it the lyrics, Google Haze, all in my brain. Lately, AI ranks don't seem the same. Like, change the Jimi Hendrix lyrics to be for like SEO and AI, like a spoof song. Back in the day, we'd have to make those spoof songs, like actually record them. But I said, make the guy holding a guitar that's a magnifying glass, a common early symbol of SEO, and make him have like telescope glasses. And I'll have to show you later. Probably can pull it up right here, but it's crazy. The guy's holding a guitar, playing a guitar, singing the lyrics I put in, and it doesn't sound like Jimi Hendrix. They don't want to copy, like, the copyright issues, but I said, kind of make it like bluesy. He's singing the blues with my lyrics with a magnifying glass guitar. You can see through the glass to his shirt, his crazy psychedelic, paisley suit. He's in like a paisley suit with tassels, and he's singing, beautifully singing the lyrics I put in with the crazy, telescope glasses. And it took me, like, I just said literally like what I just said, like a sentence prompt. And I only got 8 seconds, but I'm having a debate with John Marr, my right-hand man. Like, Hollywood is going to be transformed shortly, because you know, there are tools now where I looked at one this morning, Saga, I think is the tool. And it's like you can make your own Hollywood movie. It's got all different AI connected to it. So you can write the script. A movie script has to be, because I wrote a novel a couple of years ago and had a guy make a movie script out of it. But I paid a good amount of money for that. I think he said it has to be 117 pages, like very specific. Movie scripts are exacting, like very, typically a very specific amount of pages. And if it's a sci-fi movie, it's going to have certain things happen at certain points. Like Luke Skywalker loses his family. That's the act that pushes the hero out.
And yet AI can just take that and just do it like this.
Well, so there are templates within Saga to select, like if it's sci-fi, I'm going to have a hero's journey, write the intro, write the script, and then you can modify the script and then start animating. And you can make characters, personas, store the characters, and then start making your movie. So John Maher, my right-hand man, said, I don't think it's there yet. And I kind of have to agree because, that's awesome. I got an 8-second video that was mind-blowing, but how are you going to make a full feature film? But I think the technology technically is there, so some people could do it. But I think the average person in a couple of years can make a Hollywood movie. So how is AI like affecting SEO? Well, content creation, video, podcasts. I mean, you can make podcasts now. Technically, now I don't love this idea, but you can use 11 Labs to clone your voice. Hey Jen to clone your, your video of you, and then it seems a little scary to me to store all that in the cloud.
People do it, and I've had conversations with people who that's literally their entire business model is to store your clone, your AI clone,
their clients as a clone,
and do the things. Like, it's cool. It's really cool conceptually, but from like a philosophical point of view, it's really freaky.
It is very freaky. So I mean, I'm kind of old school. So I mean, I love humans writing the content. We pay for, we do like 100 articles a month. I mean, we create podcasts, we create videos, we create articles, and it's kind of sad in some ways to see some of this stuff is so exciting. I think you had said when we had talked earlier, it's exciting and terrifying, right? Because, hey, my SEO could be easier, not only with creating videos or podcasts, or maybe even just, I mean, for some people they would just use AI to write the script. I wouldn't do that because I don't believe that Google will rank it well. If you simply go, hey, ChatGPT, write this script, and then 11 Labs and Hey Jen just make the series of videos and shorts and whatever. I think, I mean, I guess you could get away with that if you were to factor in EEAT, which is experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. That's a Google thing, an acronym where they don't want just crappy, thin AI content. They need to see that there are real experts out there with something unique. So, already AI has totally shifted the landscape with, content creation and all that. But more importantly, Google has launched AI mode, right? So now Google is, in a way, not really a search engine. It's really ChatGPT with some links, in a way.
So here's a question for you, though, because like there's so many ways that individuals and business owners can leverage AI that are both exciting and terrifying, as we said. But there's so much more to being ranked, as we've discussed, than meets the eye. So how should we be navigating that space? Like, what should we be prioritizing when it comes to SEO, becoming visible using search engine optimization, but with the understanding that it's not just a search engine anymore. It's also artificial intelligence that can read between the lines and tell whether or not you're real and yada, yada, yada. Well, where should we start from there?
Yeah, let me try and think of how to make this very practical. So let's talk about SEO in 3 main buckets. So technical, I mean, of course, above that is strategy, but let's say there's technical SEO, there's content, including on-page SEO and that, and then there's not only blogs but the keywords on your service pages or your product pages. So there's content of various types, and then there's links. So those are three big pillars of SEO. Also, though, there's user experience. So if you're going to approach SEO, you need to at least know those 3 or 4 buckets, right? You need to have a technically proficient, fast-loading website, and then you need good, creative content with a unique voice that's based on your own authority and authorship, personal branding and personal branding, because Google looks at, if you're a brand that people search for, even if you're a local company, if people don't search for your brand, and if there's not an identifiable author, like the last thing you want to do is on your blog publish as admin. That's saying, you have to publish as, John or Shauna, right?
And actually, here's a really good example that I just saw in my inbox is Indigo, the bookstore, does this really beautifully in how they publish or how they promote certain books. Is they have, Heather's picks, right? So
that kind of stuff supersedes the crap that can come from AI and obliterate the internet with littered with crappy thin AI content. Shauna's picks or whoever it is unique and personable, and EEAT rich. Again, that experience. Google wants to know that your site your people, authors and people that do the work for your company, have experience. They're experts. Maybe they have certifications. They have authority. Maybe they wrote a book. They have a blog. They have a podcast, a YouTube channel. And I believe that now it's really, we need to think of it like search everywhere optimization. Neil Patel talks about that a lot, and some other people. I'm big on that term right now. In fact, we're changing our contracts. We don't say search engine optimization anymore. Search everywhere optimization. And part of that is optimizing for what's left of Google as a search engine, which at the moment is about maybe 40% of clicks, compared to, you used to be able to get, if you're in the top 5 of Google, you get 67% of the clicks. And that's what our goal was always. Hey, we got to get you top 5. It used to be top 10 and then it was top 5 because that's where it all is. Now it's like AI is like this big, long answer. It's not just like, if you ask something like, what's the capital of Texas or something, you're going to get the answer. But if you ask like, how do I use ChatGPT, you're not going to get like a sentence. You're going to get a whole chunk, like a page in a book, maybe with links, but definitely with links on the right side, or that like the AI. So the AI overviews answer the question, unlike the old Google was all links sending people to websites. Google wants to be kind of hoarding you now, but they sort of like don't have a choice in a way, because that's what people want now. They're used to ChatGPT, and if Google didn't shift, they might not survive. And they're already, Google is growing, but their share of the overall space is lessened. So you need to think about search everywhere optimization. In addition to those factors that I talked about, part of the content factor is building your brand and personal brand across social media, because the AI results you're more likely to come up in the AI results if not only maybe you're on YouTube, but if you're on Instagram and Facebook video and LinkedIn video, even Twitter, possibly TikTok. Neil Patel has a cool graphic. It shows 45 billion searches a day across all of those things. Google is 8.5 billion a day. Now, over time, so Google's share of the overall sphere of the internet is dwindling. Google itself is growing, and like more people are searching than ever. But at the same time, like there are so many other places, from Amazon to, like where you're going to find stuff, that, the internet, it's kind of like just Google it and it's Google. But now it's like, well, like, young kids are like, it's like, I'm going to find my news on TikTok, you
Absolutely.
know, or Twitter.
And actually,
They're
I kind of
journalists.
want to rewind the
Yeah.
clock here for just a minute, because you made me think of something when you were talking about search everywhere optimization, and how you need to really make sure that there's that user side of things where AI, when you go to Google, generates this response, and then they've got the links. I started thinking, yeah, you're right. It does have the links, and oftentimes it's linking to videos from YouTube. But it's not just doing that. It's also sending you to a specific spot in the video on YouTube, whereas it wasn't necessarily doing that a few years ago. So that's something that makes me think your search everywhere optimization is even more pertinent from the creator's point of view, because if you're not actually putting like storyline markers within your videos or something like that, you're missing an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, it's the same on a web page now, in a way. So in order to come up in AI overviews, a very strong recommendation that we're, discovering and starting to implement is that you need to be, your pages can't be half-assed, like long SEO articles with this, oh well, we made it 2,000 words because we heard that's good for SEO. That has been true for almost too long, like to the point where you want to throw up. You search Google, it's like, oh my god. You read a recipe and you're like, well, I got to read the history of cooking before I get to the epic recipe. It can be frustrating because like SEO guys, girls were like, oh well, that's what's going to make it rank. But so that can be frustrating. So Google, and like, because ChatGPT and similar tools, people got used to like, hey, I can get stuff quick now. I don't have to go to all these websites. But these AI bots have to like grab it from somewhere, right? And so it's recommended now that not only do you need a fast loading website that's technically proficient, I'll describe a few things that means. So we use SEMrush, and you can use whatever technical auditing tool. You can't have broken links. You can't have a really slow load time. Those are obvious things. Less obvious, I mean, some people don't even put title tags and meta descriptions, which is an obvious thing you need to do in my mind, because we've been doing that 25 years, 30 years. The title tags should be 55, 60 characters, maybe 45 to 60 characters. Meta description, I mean, now they can be a little longer, but typically it was like 150-ish characters for a meta description. But a lot of people don't even have them, or they have them that are like way too long or way too short. So that's a common sort of a technical thing. Like SEMrush will flag it if it's wrong. It's not like a broken link, but it's still something you didn't do right. And then headings, like H1 heading, like, hey, this page is about how to rank in the AI overviews. And then as a subheading, like an H2 might be like how to get backlinks that help your brand be seen as an authority to rank in the AI overview. So H1, H2, H3, the structure of that's already been a thing for a very long time. Now you're supposed to add like a summary, and we haven't really fully implemented too much of this. We're just starting to. Our writers are like, we're talking about it every week and incorporating it. So if there are, say, you cover like the four big pillars of the SEO in an article, how to do AI SEO. Okay, you need technical SEO. At the top of that section, if someone asks a question like how to do technical SEO, you wouldn't just meander for like that whole section. You need to summarize at the, with a couple of sentences at the top, and the AI overviews can then see this is a fast loading website. Hopefully you use schema. So schema code says this is a service page, it's an about us page, it's a, there's schema language. And if that sounds confusing, just go, hey, ChatGPT, give me schema for all the pages on my website. And you'll be like, oh crap, look, there it is. And then you can give that to a developer. And then when they give it back to you, you say, hey, ChatGPT, did they do it right? Because they can show you what they did. And then you can say, hey, you missed these things, and then you're done. Whereas the old days, you'd have to write the schema codes, like a pain in the ass. But so if your content, your site is fast loading, the page is fast loading, has good title and meta tags, clear keywords in the heading, and then subtopics, and then summaries that the AI, and that's where I think podcasts are good too, because you ask a question and answer it. For voice search, that's always been really good. But I think even in just a blog post, having a summary that the AI can answer and give people
Right.
is better than just, yeah, I covered the topic comprehensively, but the AI has a harder time if there's no schema, no technical clarity, and no succinct answers. So if you think like that, you can get in the AI overviews better.
And it's just a different way to think about how you're going to structure something like a blog, to make sure
Right.
that it can pull out exactly what your prospective clients, really, let's be real, because if they're
Yeah.
looking, they're somewhere along that buyer's journey, are actually looking for. And I mean,
Right.
you can't go wrong with this, because not only are you going to rank, but you're also going to be found by your people who are potentially going to buy. Like it's a win-win when it comes to that sort of thing.
Well, and yeah, it all feeds on itself together if you do it right. Because if you do a podcast and you get YouTube shorts from that and you put those on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and many places, the AI, the brain of AI, when they're judging you, can see that you're all over the place. So you're doing search everywhere optimization for two reasons. One, you're impressing algorithmically a robot like Google or ChatGPT, in the sense that their feelers know if you're in that 45 billion world, not just Google shooting for Google. And then so that is gonna, hopefully you should be able to get business from YouTube and Instagram, not just do it for Google, right? So we should change our mindset with SEO and think like, now it's search everywhere optimization, and I want my other channels like YouTube that maybe were like a cute, like for a lot of small businesses, like maybe they do it, maybe they don't, but I think it's more important than ever because you're only going to get a small amount of clicks from Google now. So you got to make up for that by being in front of the 45 billion searches as much as possible. Even if you're a lawyer, we wrote a book for a lawyer, for multiple lawyers, but here's a book as an example, a little book we wrote for a lawyer. And that's on Amazon. Well, I put it through Ingram Spark and it got on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and all over the place. That's part of the 45 billion searches. And then Google says, whoa, they're an authority. I'm going to rank them better organically because of that. But the old days was we were mostly like, yeah, we really want that to influence Google. Now it's like, well, geez, Google's only 18% of the 45 billion searches a day. You've got to think a little different. If Google's being stingy now and not giving you clicks, well, you'll get overviews and you'll be seen in Google. But a lot of the time, maybe 60% of the time, you're not going to get clicks like you used to. That
So you
kind of
really
stuff.
do
And
need to
that might
think
get
bigger.
worse. Yeah. So when you're doing search everywhere optimization, don't just do it for Google. Do it because you should establish these other channels, which hopefully you can even get leads from YouTube and Instagram and whatever. But then again, the side benefit is that's building your EEAT, and you're more likely to be trusted by the AI overviews because you're seen as an authority with a book and you're all over the place. And so the rich get richer if you do it that way. So people with a good strategy like that, I think, are going to win. And people that just go, oh yeah, AI is great. I can just go ChatGPT, write an article, and it just goes onto the blog and it's crap. That thin content, Google is railing against that.
Right. And I get it, and I'm glad that it is. Now that
Yeah.
said, I feel like we've covered a lot of different angles in this conversation, and it's almost like we've barely scratched the surface. And I know
Yeah.
that to be true. It can
I
be very,
know.
very overwhelming for somebody
Right.
who's just kind of entering into the space. So I need to ask you, for all those who are joining us for this conversation who may be just entering into this space or wondering how they can apply it to their business, what is one thing that they should be taking out of this conversation that they can take action on today to really take a step in the right direction when it comes to search everywhere optimization? Now, before you answer that, because I know that was a really heavy question, considering the massive knowledge that is required to understand this whole sphere, I want to remind everybody who's joined us today that these conversations and conversations just like them happen every single week here on Marketing Rebels. We're looking at this type of world differently. You know, we're looking at marketing through a lens that not a lot of people are prepared to look at it through. And I want you to join us on this innovative journey of how can we adapt and evolve with AI? How can we adapt and evolve with integrative, knowledgeable potential clients? I always tell people, you know, your customer base are so informed because of AI, because of the internet, because of all of these things. Are you just as informed on the other end? Are you able to keep up? Are you able to follow that invisible hand? And are you able to nurture yourself in a way that doesn't make you burn out while you're trying to do so? So all of these things and more is what you're here for, and what I would love to see you here for next week and the week after. So hit the bell, subscribe, and join us there. Now, hopefully you've come up with your one thing, John. I'm going to give you the proverbial microphone, and I'm going to let you share with them what they need to hear.
Yeah. So my most recent book, and this isn't a pitch to buy it, it's just the thesis of this book from a couple of years ago, I think is more as relevant now with AI as ever. The idea of talk marketing is, after 30 years of trying to get our SEO clients to write content, or, you know, of course, we're writing for most of them, we realized that podcasting is so overlooked by so many people compared to everyone's got a YouTube channel, everyone has a blog. I mean, no doubt, anybody who wants SEO, it'd be crazy not to have a blog, right? You need good ongoing content. But I think if you could pick one thing, I would choose to have a podcast with a weekly episode where you also capture video from the webcam, and then you can turn that into shorts for search everywhere optimization, not only on YouTube, but Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook video, and maybe even TikTok if you want. But I think having that weekly episode gives you a huge knowledge base. After a year goes by, you have 52 episodes, which maybe even they're 15 minutes to a half hour long. If you're a small business, you could do them 12 minutes long would be enough. And you could record 4 of them in 1 hour a month and have a weekly piece of content that can be repurposed into massive other types of content with the help of AI. But you talking is powerful from your voice and your knowledge, and it's unique and it's different, especially if you think about what to say that is from your depth of experience, but maybe people haven't heard before. That's going to rank much better than like, hey, you know, ChatGPT, write me an article. So while AI is awesome to assist in things, personally, at least at the moment, I still think humans actually podcasting and turning that into all kinds of content is the simplest thing for a small business, and, you know, to manage, as opposed to, you know, again, cheap, thin AI content, or even sitting down to write. If you're trying to write for yourself, it's easier to just talk and then repurpose it.
And if maybe they're already doing that, maybe they're not, maybe they're taking those steps in the right direction, but they are realizing now. We are all, I mean, I know there are a few things that I had to write down that I was like, oh damn, I haven't checked that in a while. We're thinking, yeah, we need to actually look into this a little bit deeper. We're realizing the importance of this. We need to take action, but we don't necessarily know the technological aspects of things. We don't know the ins and outs of, are we actually making our content user-friendly and SEO friendly? Are we doing the backlinks right? The meta, all of that stuff. So we need help. This is where you come into play, because this is your bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants help with their SEO, we certainly offer services, but we'd also be happy to just give people, you know, free advice. If you happen to be in Massachusetts, we teach through the Workforce Training Fund, and you can get $15,000 worth of free training to study with us. So anyone locally can get it, you know, work with us for free.
I love that. That's wonderful. Thank you, John. Now, I just want to remind everybody that you can actually book in for a consult with the QR code on the screen, and there are links in the show notes. So absolutely hop on that, because I tell you that this is not a walk in the park. SEO, when it was just search engine optimization, was not a walk in the park. Now we're searching everywhere.
Yeah.
something you
Go on.
want and need a guide for. So with that, I'm just going to remind you guys that John has gone through the big bang of the internet. And now what we're seeing, I just want to reiterate the story you told at the beginning, John, because I thought it was really interesting, is just that idea that, well, the internet was there, but it wasn't really big until we kind of went into the 90s and it started to blow up. That's what we just went through over the course of the last 5 years with AI. AI has always kind of been there, but
Right.
it boomed.
Yeah.
It absolutely boomed in the last few years. And so when you've got somebody like yourself who's already kind of been through that growth and can navigate that reasonably well, and now we're going to do it again with AI, which is arguably growing exponentially faster. I think that this is where, having companions along that journey who have that knowledge is going to be invaluable. So I just want to, again, encourage you all, reach out to John, say hello to me if you want any of the more forward-facing social media marketing, brand development end of things, maybe less of the technical stuff, but I'm going to help you to make sure that you're doing all of this with authenticity so that they don't flag you as spam or AI gen. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next week. See you later.
Thanks.